And we're live. Welcome in, Grant. Welcome in, Skilo. If you're new here, or if you will be new here when you come in, this is Sandra James, living it with Sandra James. I am a colorectal cancer survivor, living with a permanent ostomy bag. And I am here today because I want to have this wonderful conversation with you on this day. And happy Sunday to you. Yes, and welcome in Skilo 9005. Of course, many of you will not know Skilo, though you may have seen him in some of the comments on some of my videos. Skilo is my husband, and so he's here, but he's in the bushes. So welcome in Skilo. Welcome in JC, Calamity Jane, Kendi K. Happy Sunday to you. Wellness with Liza, welcome in. Jerry G, welcome in. Good to see you all. And happy Sunday. I'm out of breath because I was running around the house trying to find my fan, and I found it. Yes. So, how is everybody doing? What's going on? Welcome to all of you over there in the bushes and in the cut. Whew. Salute to the chat. Amen. Amen. It is a great, great Sunday. And I have posted a question in the chat. Don't judge me, and I'm not perfect are two of the most common statements that people use. Do you ever wonder why? What are your thoughts around these statements? I'd love to hear from you. And that's why I'm here today, because I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about that. And Grant has said that possibly as a form of defense to help avoid a certain response from someone else. Okay, so thank you for that, Grant. And that could be the case. That could be the case because people don't want you to judge something that they are about to share. But as I think about this, I think about if that person who's saying don't judge me, if they're talking to me personally, or they are about to share something with me about themselves, or getting ready to tell a secret, or whatever it is, right? I would rather them say, especially if they're going to ask me what I think about it, whatever it is they're going to share, they're going to ask me what I think about it. But if they are only sharing it with me for me to listen, then I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to listen. But if they are sharing something with me because they want my input, I would rather they not tell me before they tell me not to judge them. I would rather them say, what is your judgment on this? Because there are several different forms of judging, right? And I know we're not in school, but I always have some thoughts about some things, and this is one of them. And you'll hear me talk about my time of incarceration. And the reason why I'm sharing times of incarceration is because 22 years of my life was spent in that place. And I'm not, I'm 64 now. So I've only had a good 16 years back into society. So a lot of my life was spent in there. So a lot of things happened while I was in there. And this judging, people saying, don't judge me, was one of the things that I experienced when I was in there. And with that, I have carried that thought, that statement, all the way from there and all the way through my life up until now. And so with that, I had this little card in my Bible, and you probably can't see it. But on this card were some biblical definitions of the word judge. And so I carried them around with me so that I could always decipher when I'm having engagement with people what type of judgment they're talking about, because people was always saying, don't judge me when they get ready to tell me something. And my thought is, well, don't tell me. If you think I'm going to judge, maybe I'm not the right person for you to tell. And so on this card, I used it so many times. Welcome in, Gemini Diva, to decipher, like I said before, what it is that how I'm supposed to respond when people say, don't judge me. So, but you may have heard me say it before, but if you have, you will never hear me say it again. You would never hear me say, don't judge me. Never really thought about either one of these, Kendi K said, to be honest. To be honest, I never really thought about either one of these things. Yes. So I hear it all the time. Kendi K, and I'm like, okay, why is it necessary to say that? So maybe to someone it is necessary to say that. And if that is so, I want to hear about it. So Grant said, judging others in a spiritual sense is God's responsibility. Amen. As human, free will make it hard to remember that we aren't the ones responsible to judge between God and each person. And that is true. When your judgment, and that's why I wrote these on the card, because one of the definitions or one of the biblical clarifications, I'll say, is that judging is when one forms a negative opinion and criticizes others. So, and that's Matthew. I'm not doing church either, but that's Matthew 7:1-3. So in that case, when you're criticizing somebody, that's the time when people will say, don't judge me. But there has been times in my life when someone has come and shared some information with me or shared some things with me, and they wanted me to help them process it, or they wanted to, me to walk them through and to help them to get some clarification around whatever it is that they're sharing. And in that case, and that's why I would say I'd rather hear someone ask me to use my judgment in what they're sharing with me, right? So that's one who decides on matters and situations as a hearer and a mediator. So that's a form of judgment, and we know that Moses did a lot of making decisions and making judgments between situations and matters. And so that's what I call a horse of a different color from judging someone. So I just really wonder why people say that right before they get ready to tell something. Or maybe it's me or someone else come to someone and say, oh, I heard this happened. And then the person will say, well, don't judge me because this is what really happened, or this is what happened. So Kendi K said, I am who God says I am. Grown folks should know, that's right, when they are out of order. The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, will arrest you when you are out of alignment with your faith walk. Absolutely true. So it's like that grown folk part, that's the part where you judge yourself, right? That's that part where you judge yourself and you know what's right from wrong, which is also something in the Bible, one who discerns and decides by the wisdom of God between right and wrong. So that's basically what Kendi K is saying. You grown, you you judge yourself and you make sound decisions about what's right and what's wrong. So others shouldn't have to judge you, but people still will. Good afternoon, Vlad. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome in. Yeah, so this is different parts working with that. And I just don't think, my own personal opinion, I don't think it's necessary to say, don't judge me, but because people, we're human, right? And it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, or what you're doing in your life. Somebody is going to be somewhere making a judgment or a criticism about you anyway. God could come down and give you 10 halos and come down from heaven, bring you a 10 halos and a white robe and help you put it on. And someone is still going to judge. So it doesn't matter. I just, wonder why, people feel it's necessary to say that. But to Grant's point, Grant said that because that it may be, he didn't say that it was absolutely so. He said possibly as a form of defense to help avoid certain responses from someone else. And yeah, and that is one reason why uh, people feel like they need to say that. Yes, we are, and we just gonna be human no matter what. But I try to refrain from saying don't judge me when I'm sharing something or when I'm telling someone, because I just don't think it's necessary to tell them that, because once you put something out there or once something is out there, then it's up to other people to have their opinions. And speaking of opinions, opinions are good. If everybody had the same opinion, the world would be absolutely boring and we wouldn't have anything to collaborate about. We wouldn't have anything to engage about. We would just absolutely be all the same. And welcome in, Layla. Good to see you. Happy Sunday. And it is always good to see and hear from you. So Layla says, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Amen. That's right. And that's one of my sayings too, that I actually picked up from Dr. Seuss. But it works and it's very applicable in our lives. And y'all know me, I'm always coming to ask some question about something that I've thought. Yes, because those that mind whatever it is going on in your life, it probably don't matter. But those who matter in your life and even outside of your life is what's happening. They don't mind. They don't mind, and they're not judging, and they're not forming a negative opinion about you. They are just accepting you and allowing you to be you while they work on and focus on being themselves, right? So yeah, I just really thought it was an interesting topic too, Layla. And so I always think to bring something to the table, And then the other thing, I'm not perfect. That is one of the most common things that I hear. I don't know about everybody else, and that's why I'm bringing it to the table, because I want to hear what other people have to say about it and what other people are, and what you guys are hearing. I'm not perfect. That is the thing. I don't think it's necessary to say that either, because none of us are. And I don't think none of us is trying to be perfect. So I just feel like it's a waste of words sometimes to say, well, I'm not perfect, but this is what it is, or this is what I learned, or this is what I'm sharing, you know. Yeah. So I'm not perfect. What do you guys think when you hear it? Or do you even hear people saying I'm not perfect all the time? I hear it all the time, and I'm like, okay, what? I already know that, because I'm not either. I'm like you. I'm just here on the earth, living my life and enjoying your company, spending time with you and doing what I do, making mistakes along the way, making bad choices along the way, but also making good choices and not always making mistakes. But either way it goes, it's I just think it's unnecessary to, just give that extra public announcement, right? You can agree to disagree without letting the person know it. That's a good point. You don't have to agree with them, and you certainly do not have to tell them either. So yes, that's a very good point. You can disagree with someone without even telling them that you do. Oh my goodness, you wow. Let me point this out. So hold on, I did the wrong thing here. Kendi K said, "Sand, you look so Southern California in your white. It looks good on you. I don't wear white too much." But thank you, Kendi K, first of all. But we talked about friendship. Was it last week already? Has it been a week already? We talked about friendship. Yes. One of the number one thing that and is an identifier, all of my friends call me Sand. Nobody in YouTube knows that until this moment, right? Kendi K just called me Sand. So that is a qualifier for friendship for me. Thank you, Kendi K, for calling me Sand. That is my nickname to all of my very close, up close and personal friends. Everybody calls me Sand. That is close to me. So JC said, pepper break. I think people say it as a moment of humility if they are learning something new or unlearning something they believe. However, on YouTube, if I am choosing to go to a person's channel, okay, however, on YouTube, if I'm choosing to go to a person's channel. So, JC, you're saying that some people say, is it that some people say, don't judge me, or is it that people say, I'm not perfect when they're learning and unlearning something, and that's a good point. Some people do it out of humility, or they believe that they're being humble. Welcome in, Jackie. Good to see you. Happy Sunday to you. Kendi K says, average is nothing but being on top of the bottom. One of my pastors said that, and I have never forgotten it. Shout out to Bishop Ed Stevens. Shout out to Bishop Ed Stevens. All right. Let's go. So JC says she's not coming with prejudgment, mid-judgment, or post-judgment. So she's not coming with judgment, she says. So that means if it's pre or post or in the middle, she means not at all. So when she's coming to anything or anywhere, she's not judging. And that's good to know. We need to know that. I need to know that. I always want to know what's going on. Yes, it was Friday. It was just day before yesterday then when we talked about friendship. But hearing my nickname on a live, and Kendi K said it, that means that's a really huge thing for me because all of my friends call me Sand. And that is, it's a nickname, but that's my actual name. That nobody in that circle ever calls me Sandra. It's always Sand. I know one thing that I look for most in the person who straddle the fence. You shouldn't straddle the fence. If you straddle the fence, that means that, yeah, you stand for something. Okay. Straddling the fence. I think maybe people who straddle the fence would be someone who would say, don't judge me too, because maybe they feel uncomfortable and guilty, or um, they want to avoid being judged because they're already judging themselves because of the straddle, maybe. Not 100% certain. I am not a scholar in that way, but as a human being, that's what I would think. Yes, yes, that's what I would think. Yes. So Kitty K say all the Sandra she know go by saying, yeah, and that's something I didn't know. Yes, yes, Kitty K. I do consider you a friend. Absolutely. Okay, so let's see. And JC said no one knows her nickname. Stand up for righteousness. Kendy K says. Yeah, if whoever wants to call me Sanders. I'm fine with it. I am so fine with it. So it's so hard to presume why people say it. So it's best to just ask them. And that's a good thought. That's a good thought, because if someone says it to me going forward, I'm gonna ask them, why are you saying that? Because especially if they're coming to tell me something personally, it doesn't necessarily always have to be that when you hear it that the person is talking directly to you to tell you something personal. It could be someone just speaking, and before they say the thing, they want to say, don't judge me, so. But none of you guys ever have to say that to me, because if you're telling me something, trust and believe, I have no room for judgment. I have no room to judge anything. So, and yes, presumption can be harmful, when we presume something, so I just want to know. I just want to know, y'all. Because I'm like, okay, why are you saying that? And I'm not perfect. That one, and so there are a lot of different sayings that people say just because they've heard it so much that it just becomes a natural thing to say. And I often wonder when I play the tape back after I've done a video or a live, I wonder why. Why do you keep saying Because that's something that I say all the time. And so when I'm saying that, why am I saying that? And I want to know. So we always have these things that and these sayings that we attach to ourselves, and we find ourselves saying it all the time. Sometimes it's just that, and it's really not even that the person is thinking you're going to judge them. It's just something that maybe they're used to saying. So Kendi K said, and some people let you can call me Mrs. Kendi K because boundaries. Laughing out loud. She found that hilarious. Okay, I'll be Arnold. What? I'll be Arnold. What you talking about, Willis? When I need to clarify with the conversation, say, what you talking about, Willis? How cute. But yeah, we Jackie, that was funny. But yeah, we be having these sayings, and another one that I'll be mentioning tomorrow, that I've heard over all my life, and I finally brought it up in my video that's coming out tomorrow. People say ignorance is bliss. That is apt to me. To my personal opinion, that is absolutely not true. So, I'm like, I'm like, what? And I've heard it over the years, and I've never questioned it. But in my case and in my life today, I found a place, in something that I wanted to talk about, that where I finally paid attention to that saying, ignorance is bliss. That's not true. I understand why someone would say that, and I don't know who coined that saying, but I do understand why they're saying it. But they feel like, sometimes it's just better not to know something. But I don't think that's true, especially in the case that I'm going to be speaking about. It is absolutely not true. So there are a lot of sayings. What other sayings have you heard that it's just been a thing that people say, and it's just always been there, and you've heard it over the years, you never really questioned it, and even some of the things that has attached itself to you, what are some of those things? And we could talk about some of those things that you've heard, some of the sayings and some of the phrases, that you've heard, and that you've, maybe even allowed it to be attached to yourself. I could think of a million of them, you know, um, and one that I probably should not even say, because then I'll have to share my thoughts around it, and that may not be a good thing. But yeah, all of the different sayings. What sayings have you guys heard? What phrases and statements have you heard that it just becomes a thing? Keep it 100. That's one that has uh, came out from somewhere, and people just say it sometimes just to be saying it, and they're not even keeping it 100 when they're saying it, but they just said, or I just keep it 100. I just keep it real. That's another one. So it's lots of different sayings. Jackie said, oh, I'm gonna be laughing. Jackie said, I say a lot of sayings, some I make up. uh Jackie said, one dog don't stop no show. And see, I've heard it as monkey. One monkey don't stop the show. So yeah, yeah. And see Jackie coming up with them. I think Jackie mentioned this in one of her lives recently. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, But is that really true? I think that's one that's not true, because I believe you can teach an old dog some new tricks. You just got to work with them. Here's one from Layla. Good things come to those who wait. Do I believe it? Yes, I do believe it. I think good things come to people even if they're not waiting or don't have to wait, but I absolutely believe that good things come to those who wait. And I believe it because God says it all the time. God has said wait so many times. So I do believe that one, and that is something that I would probably say. So Kitty K says, so maybe it's just a saying that people say a lot, and it doesn't really mean anything at all. True. True. I believe that we just sometimes heard something so much over time, and it just attaches itself, and we're just seeing Jackie. um and so it just attaches itself to us, and we're just saying it, because it's just something to say. Welcome in, Rod. Happy Sunday to you. Good to see you stopping by to show some love. Thank you so much for the love, Rod. Appreciate you. We're talking about why say don't judge me, and I was asking the community, why do they think that people say that? And I got to get to Jackie saying, then I start asking about what are some of the other sayings that people say, that either is just something that people say because they've heard it all their lives, or something that has been said over decades, and it just attaches itself to you. So Jackie says, sleep with dogs and get fleas. And so, I've heard that saying, the old folks be saying that. Sticks and stones. Jackie said, Jackie got a lot of them. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words would never hurt me. And that one is absolutely not true. I don't believe that's true, because words hurt more than getting some stones thrown at you and getting hit with some sticks. Words can not only hurt you but also scar you for life. Depending on what those words were that were said. So every dog has its day, Kendi K said. But yes, that's a saying that is absolutely not true. Words do hurt, and words can even traumatize a life. So we're always encouraged to be careful about what we say and how we treat people with those words, and we should be letting our words be seasoned with grace, because words absolutely do um woo words absolutely do hurt. You shall reap what you sow. Absolutely true. The law of sowing and reaping is real. That one is absolutely true. Oh my goodness, a closed mouth don't get fed. I love it. Yes. And that one's true too. If you don't say nothing, then how's anybody gonna know? Ross said, a hit dog will holler, or a guilty dog will always bark. Now that's one I've never heard before. Wow. Right. Woo. So I guess when I think about it, Kendi K says, is the person saying don't judge me because they are confronted by the truth, or they don't want to hear or accept truth, or is it they just don't want to accept it from you? Ooh, that's really deep. So yes, again, it depends on the situation in the context in which they're saying it. Are they speaking to you? When are they coming to tell you something and then tell you before they tell you don't judge me? Or are they speaking out into a forum, and saying, just say that is me, and I'm on YouTube and I'm in a live and I'm getting ready to share something, and so I'm speaking to everybody that's in the chat and whoever's in the bushes and whoever is wherever they are watching, and before I say something, I say, don't judge me, but I'm getting ready to tell you that. But I just believe that that was a really good question and good point, Kendi K. But I believe that if I put something out to you, whether it's just me and you, one other person, me and one other person talking, or if I'm putting something out into the atmosphere and into the YouTube streets, I just don't feel like I need to say don't judge me, because if I feel like I'm going to be judged by what I'm about to say, maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe I shouldn't share it. Maybe it's something that doesn't need to be said if there's a concern or a guilt or anything like that about whatever it is you're sharing. If I tell you something, if I say something, you can take it and do what you will with it. So, but I'm not going to ask you not to judge me. You must think I was born yesterday. Nah, Jackie, I know. Yeah. No, Jackie, I know. That was a good one. A hit dog will holler. Yes. I'm low key old school, Sandra. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That was one. And I thought I done heard everything. But see, you always can learn when you listen. You can always learn something. Yes. And this one, the customer is always right, Layla says. The customer is always right, even when they wrong. Because of hospitality and courtesy and good management, we're going to give the customer the right of way, even though they're wrong, So, yeah. You don't believe fat meat's greasy? Mine's is, that is so funny. Mine's is, do you think water is wet? Right? water is wet, but I might say, you don't think water is wet. If you coming over here with that, you must don't know that water is wet. That's one of mine. Maybe you shouldn't say it. Good point. Maybe you shouldn't say it. Good point. Right? It will come out in the wash, Jackie said. Yes, it will. So that's another reason why you don't need to say don't judge me, because whatever it is, it's coming out in the wash, and people gonna judge it no matter what. Somebody somewhere is gonna have a criticism or an opinion or a thought, and that's okay with me, because I can only control what's going on over here, and I'm only gonna put out what I need you to know. But in the same vein, or in what I was saying, by the same token, I would also say maybe you needed to hear that respectfully and prayerfully. Yes, yes. Oh, Rebounding with Cheryl is here. Welcome in. Hi, Sandra. Sounds like you guys are having a great conversation. Yes, we are. We are talking about, and Sandra is always coming to the live, asking somebody something about something. And so I wanted to know, why does it, or is it necessary to say to someone, don't judge me, or I'm not perfect, right? So yeah, I know Kendi K about the typos. Of course, I am only using the microphone. Okay. Yeah, I know most people who use any type of social medias, they like to talk, text, and in all forms, and I'm probably the only dinosaur around here that doesn't do it. I'm probably the only dinosaur that don't do it. I'm still typing and still be having typos, even though I don't like to use the talk text thing, because I feel like the person, that's whoever's behind there that's gonna translate it, they don't get my words right. Yeah, you don't believe Fat Meets Greasy is a classic one, Kendi K. Yeah. So Cheryl, I asked everybody to share some of the sayings that have been, like generated throughout life and throughout the years, that people say to express something, or, it just has gotten attached to us over the years, and so it spiraled out to that from my question about, why do people say don't judge me? Yeah, they're just opinions, Kendi K said, like you're behind. Everybody has one. Oh, that reminded me of something. Everybody has one, and every once in a while, you need to give it a good washing. Okay, so somebody on Instagram said the other day, and of course it was an Ostamate who said it. She said that everybody said opinions are like buttholes, and everybody has one. But that person was saying that's not true, because I don't have one, right? Because they have had the surgery that caused for the removal, or it to be sewn shut. So, but they said it in a humorous way, and it was funny, and I kind of clung to it a little bit, because who would have ever thought that saying wouldn't be absolutely true for everyone, right? Because some of us don't have them anymore. So yeah, we come and we say these things, and we put things out in the atmosphere, and we, in our communication, and it's all good. It's all good. It's just, friendly conversation we're having here. But I just always wondered, and I never asked anybody that has said it to me, why are you saying that? So when somebody says it to me again, don't judge me, I'm going to ask them, why are they asking me not to judge them? And then I'm going to tell them, well, do you think you should tell me if you think I'm going to judge you? Because I'm not. I'm absolutely not. Yeah. So I still type into the phone. So me and Rod doesn't talk. Rod, I don't talk to text. I type it. So me and Rod type. We don't talk. Yeah. So yeah, the Barbie butt. Yes, Kendi K, the Barbie butt. And do you know that people have made Barbie butt dolls now? Barbie and Ken never had a butt, but now because of the ostomy community, people have created these dolls to depict that too. So this one particular person has been making these dolls, and it's about those of us who have the Barbie butt. I have the Barbie butt, and I don't miss the backside because the backside was giving me some serious problems. So woohoo to the Barbie butt. And my opinion is not like the other buttholes because I don't have one anymore. So I think it's some of the things that we say is humorous, so what can I say? Yes, but don't they, but then don't we all have some common ground, like a moral compass? Kendi K is saying, like understanding right from wrong, like to be kind. Yes, yes. And that's why judgment, even though people do it, judgment is not necessary. And I think that it's unnecessary to ask to not be it, because um, it's all a common ground. It's human nature that we have, but we all have a moral compass, whether we use it or not. We all have it, and we have the ability to discern right from wrong, you know, because see, I said it, um, we all have that, we all have it, but we don't all use it. Judge the fruit by, yeah, here we go. Judge the fruit by judging their actions. I actually could care less what people says. I watch how they move. Amen. Right? And that's another reason why I don't think that statement is necessary to be saying. I don't have to judge you by what you're saying. And then that falls under a different category too of judging. I don't have to do all that, because you're gonna know a tree by its fruit, right? That's another one. That's a biblical saying, but you're gonna know the tree by its fruit. So, yeah, yes, yes. I talk to me, Kendi K. Talk to me, girl. Yes, and when their actions don't line up with their words, oh yeah, that is that. And then there's a disconnect, right? So I guess that makes me even more of a I'm just saying. Is that what you said? ISTJ. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna know a tree by its fruit, and like Jackie said earlier, and here's another saying here: when you lie down with dogs, you will catch fleas. Come up, come up out of the muck and miry clay. So yeah, that's why none of this is necessary. None of the don't judge me sayings to me. This is my own personal thought. I just don't think it's necessary to say don't judge me, because whatever you coming with, if you coming and you telling me, I'm not gonna judge you. I can't judge you because, you know, I'm no better. But at the same time, some things don't have to be judged, because it's gonna manifest itself. It's gonna show itself. You know, it's gonna you're gonna know the tree by what kind of fruit it's bearing. So apples don't fall far from the tree. That's another one. So we have all these sayings, and some of them are absolutely true, and some of them are not. So we just have to make our own, be discerning ourselves, and judging ourselves and looking at ourselves, and not putting out anything that we don't want to be brought to us. I guess I can say that's a good one. The apple don't fall far from the tree. And it may or may not. I'm not sure about that. That's one I would have to think about. Yeah, that's something that I would have to think about a little bit more. But yes, there are so many things. So, like I said before, I may have said don't judge me before. I don't think so, because I've been walking with that thought for so many years. But if I have said it, I won't ever be saying it again, because, and I really don't mind if I'm being judged, because I know that there's human nature for people to judge. And if I'm putting something out into the atmosphere, or I'm sharing something with you and I'm concerned about you judging, I'm just not going to tell you. I'm just not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you something and then tell you not to judge me. I shared something this morning with someone about myself. And when I shared it, I was never concerned before I even shared it. I was never concerned that they were going to judge me. If I thought that, I wouldn't have told them. I wouldn't have told them in the first place. But I shared it because, for one, I knew they weren't going to judge me. And for two, I didn't care if they did, and I really would think and would have thought that they were going to give me something that was going to help me with what I shared, especially the person who I shared it with. I already knew that they were either going to validate me, or they were going to give me something that was going to help me, but that they were not going to judge me. So Kendi K said, I'm trying to think, have I ever used those terms, don't judge me? Because as a Black woman in America, and as a fat woman in America, I'm judged daily. Yes, yes. So you probably haven't, you've heard it before, but you probably haven't said that. And you're right. It doesn't matter if you are a fat Black woman or a skinny Black woman or in the middle Black woman. It's not going to matter. Somebody somewhere is judging. And like I said before, Jesus, our God, can come down from the throne, bring you a gazillion halos, put them on your head, give you a white robe, and help you put the robe on. And somebody somewhere is going to judge. That's just the way human nature is. And oh, wow, these numbers just keep going down. And even a 41 pounds down, zip bound folks are still judging. Yes, they are. And congratulations, that sounds like more pounds down, because it was less than that the last time you shared. So congratulations on more pounds down. And as you continue to go down, somebody's going to be judging, and we don't care. We're judging what's important to us, and we're judging ourselves, and that's what matters to us. And we're not going around judging everybody else. Now, we may have some opinions about something that they've shared, something that they say, especially if they're talking to us, but all the other stuff, like Layla said, and like Dr. Seuss says, those that mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. I guess my personal life, I'm not around folks who judge me, so my experience may be different. Yes, I'm not. We could just be in the mall. We could be in the mall, and somebody judging the outfit we got on. We don't know, but I don't think it's necessary, and that's my bottom line, and was my question. I don't think it's necessary to say don't judge me, but that's my own personal opinion. I get evaluated at work, but that is based on metrics and what I produce. Yeah, And even that is being judged in some kind of way. Judgment can be positive in some ways. Yes, to each his own. Candy K says in America, as it is in society. So I just think that it's just not necessary. And I just really, every time something pops up, I'm like, I wonder what the world thinks about this. Am I the only one thinking about this? Am I the only one that hear this and think something about it? That's me. I'm always thinking like that. You know, some of the sayings that we've had, but that one saying that I've heard all of my life that I shared earlier, um, I really think that is not true about ignorance. They say ignorance is bliss. Absolutely not true. If you don't know better, you can't do better. So I don't agree with that statement, and I had to bring it out because it's the first time, as it relates to my life, that I paid attention to it. So Kendi K said, we are done based on our weight in pounds. We are judged based on our BMI. Frankly, you are judged based on your A1C, your driving record, all of the things society judges. Yes, somebody's judging something all the time. Sometimes people are making a determination when they judge too. So, like I had said earlier, sometimes you're sorting out a matter. You're helping someone to sort out a matter. Judging is making a decision on matters or being a mediator. So you're going to make a judgment call here. Some forms of judgment is criticism, people talking about people and having negative opinions about people. And sometimes judging is making a discernment by the wisdom of God between right and wrong. So we have all of those to work with. And I carried this card around with me. I've had this card over 20 years where I wrote them down in the scriptures to go with it. And this is how I try to live by these on a daily basis. And I always keep this in my Bible. Yes. So Cheryl said, I was being judged because I was using AI to produce my own Christian music on my channel. This person didn't like it. Well, they probably using it to themselves now. I would think. We definitely either have to be careful with this very conversation. Yes, yes. And because we're not all the same and we don't all think the same, and thank God we don't, because the world would be a boring place if we did. And I think that our words, when we're speaking to one another, even in a disagreement, that our words should be seasoned with grace, and we can be more mature and respectful in how we speak to others. But don't be telling me something and turn around and say, or before you tell me, don't judge me. Don't tell me that, because next time I hear it, I'm gonna ask you why you saying that. That's a good point, Cheryl. I hear people say they don't like the use of AI on their channel, but all of YouTube is based on AI, Python coding, and supercomputers. Yeah, yeah. And every musical sound that I've ever put on my channel, it was because I heard from Cheryl that she made this music on AI. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I have used it too. And I don't I don't care what someone's opinion is about it, but it's okay if you have an opinion about it. I'm not mad if you do. Yeah. So let's see what Kendi case. In that case, I just feel there's a lot of ignorance, like people just really don't know or understand YouTube. And as I'll be sharing tomorrow, I don't want to give it all away, but as I'll be sharing tomorrow, I was ignorant. And the thought process that I had around this thing was absolutely wrong. I even put a picture of my thought in it because I was totally ignorant about something. But I took the time to discover and educate myself and learn, right? Because that ignorance that I was dealing with at that time could have cost me my life. So it's best, JC says, so it's best we just move how the good Lord guides us and not worry about the rest of it. Yeah, we'll get a little bit further and we'll get along a lot better if we leave the judgment to God, and anybody down here on the earth that wants to, be in a space of judging in a negative way or in a criticism type way, we just let them have it. Yes, we just let them have it. Okay, so Kay said, no, I don't think you have to be careful at all. This is America. This is still a democracy, and you have the right to say anything you want, and we're grown. Okay, now this is also true. This is all true because you're talking about freedom of speech. You know, freedom of speech, being able to say your opinion, share your thoughts. And that's true. Everybody here in America, because we can't do it everywhere in the world, but here in America, we can have and we should have freedom of speech. But I also believe that for me, that when I'm speaking, I can still have my freedom of speech and have my what I'm saying be seasoned with grace. Now, there are some times when you have to say things, in a more, I'm not going to say aggressive way, but in a more stern way so that the person, whoever it is you're speaking to, will get the point. But if at all possible, let your words be seasoned with grace. For me, that's how I choose to move on the earth. And I really don't care, if I put something out there in the world, I really don't care what the judgment is that I'm going to get behind it. Yes. Lord have mercy. This is a good conversation, you guys. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we had it. Words are powerful and they are hurtful and they affect people. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So that's why I don't believe in the sticks and stone thing that I heard when I was a little girl. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Yes, they will. Words are powerful. There's life and death in the power of the tongue as well. And words do hurt and they do traumatize and they stay with people for a long period of time. And sometimes people never get over words that has it negatively impacted their lives. And that's another reason why I say that for me, I try to speak to people with my words being seasoned with grace. And that's not always happening because there have been some times when I done said some things that, I don't regret that I said it when I said it. But now as I continue to grow and mature, there was a better way to say that, and still get that point sharp across to that person. Yeah, so I absolutely believe that. Yes. What is the verse that says judgment begins in the house of the Lord? Cheryl, you the pastor here. You and Jackie pastors here. I'm kidding. But non-believers don't know better, but we do know the truth. Non-believers don't know better. And that's why another reason why we share what we share and we put it out there for non-believers, right? Because I had said earlier, if you know better, you do better. But sometimes we don't know. I was ignorant about the thing that I was talking about. But once I came to know it, then in that case, I was able to make the corrections and make the right decisions in my life. Yeah. But some people don't know. And that's why we got to make room for that too. Some people don't know, and it's, some people are ignorant, and ignorant is not a negative word, it's not a bad word, it just means lack of understanding and lack of knowledge is what it means. So this is a really wonderful conversation. I'm glad we're having it. I hope we have many, many more. We can also agree to disagree, season with grace. But then there are some things, there you go, and you're right, for which I must draw a hard line in the sand. Right, right. You sometimes you gotta put it in a more, and like I said, it doesn't have to be aggressive, but in a more firm or stern way. That's what you're saying your line in the sand is. Sometimes you have to draw a line. Sometimes you have to come even harder than that sometimes, and let's hope that that's more or less than often that we do it. But sometimes we have to use our words, and we have to use our body language too, and we have to let people know where it is when they have crossed that line. So yes, Candy K say this is a great conversation. Who knew something so simple that we take for granted can have such a diverse perspective? Enjoyed it, Sandra, and enjoying it. Well, thank you, Kenny K, because yes, sometimes the littlest things, can have a really big meaning behind it, or it brings to our attention something that, we really need to talk about sometimes. Every day, every second is an opportunity to expand our mind and perspective, JC says. But we do know the truth, Kenny K says. Amen and amen. Yes, we do know the truth. And the truth does what? It makes us free. The truth gives us that freedom of speech that we were talking about earlier too, especially when we're speaking truth. Yeah. So JC said, though I would say, Cheryl, there are non-believers that move more Christ-like than some believers. That's true too, because it's, I think that we all come here with it in us. But as we continue to move about the earth and have contact with the things of the world, as the Bible would call it, things of the world, sometimes our lives get tainted with other things. But it was never that it wasn't originally designed and instilled and placed in us in the beginning. We just strayed away from it, because sometimes non-believers do even know more and behave in a more biblical way than some people, Yeah. So it's a lot to be said about this thing. And I love how we can take one thing and branch it off into other things, and they're all still applicable to what we're talking about. Yeah. So let's see here, because the chat is going on. Then you got to do what they say: wash your hands of folks. For everything there is a season. Yeah. Yeah. Ecclesiastes. Yeah. Love God, love people. And that's not always easy, especially with some family members. Oh, Lord, let me not go there. Okay. JC Calamity Jane, I need grace there. Yeah. We all need grace. We all need grace. We all need grace. Life is too short. Yeah. So Kenny K say she choosing happy, choosing to be happy. Did I take it off of there? Choosing to be happy, enjoy, and Lord knows if we all was sitting here and we all was 100% on the same thing, on the same agreement, saying the same words, why in the heck would we be here talking? It just wouldn't make sense because it would be all the same thing. No perspective, no different points of view. No, that's why we have these conversations, so that we can enjoy and so that we can get the different perspectives and points of views and opinions and thoughts of others. And that's why I do these on Sunday or whenever it is that I can do it, because I want to know the hearts and minds and thoughts and opinions of other people. That's engagement for me. It means a lot to me. And so, as much as I could be able to do it, I'm going to continue to do it. And I hope that you all will continue to embrace me and engage me in these conversations, because they mean a lot. And I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. I already know what you think about my ostomy life because you'd have told me a million times. But I want to know what you think and feel about other things that's happening in our world and in our society and in our hearts and in our minds. I want to know all the time what you think and how that could be helpful and how it could be good for me. Just like whatever I'm sharing and bringing could be good for you. I love talking and talking about something that means something to us. And so that's why I'm doing it. And I hope to continue to do it. And with that being said, it is time to land the plane, because Sandra has to go on to the next thing, just like you all do. But I really, really appreciate you being here. And I hope to see you again soon this week and over until next Sunday. And in the meantime, have a very blessed rest of your evening for those of you who are already well into the evening. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Living it stronger every day. Living it, finding my own way. Colostomy life, I say it plain. Colorectal cancer didn't win the game. Living it, yes, yeah. Living it, yes. Living it. I'm confident and brave. Living it with Sandra James.